Sometimes it pays to be in the right place at the right time. For proof of that, look no farther than Delta's online airfare prices yesterday. I had friends tweeting about this. They couldn't believe it. Maybe that's how they found out. Because Delta says there was a computer glitch that led to prices being slashed by hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars. Bargain hunters, like some of my buddies, began scooping up the deals. But you know, the last time this happened with a different air carrier, they said, we're not going to honor them. Well, this time, some buying those cross-country flights for just $27, Delta says they will honor those mistakenly ultra-low fares. Woohoo!
Kind of nice of them, as a matter of fact. Maybe some folks are heading to Colorado come January 1st because they want to smoke pot. Because in just a few days, Colorado is bringing marijuana out of the smoky shadows and right into the mainstream. January 1st will be the first day retail stores can legally sell pot. Residents will also be allowed to legally grow up to 6 plants in their own homes. But plenty of concern remains, including how the state's legislation of marijuana is going to work with existing federal laws that are still outlaw marijuana. Joining me now for that and what it means, David Beller, one of Denver's top criminal defense attorneys. So, David, has the West been born again? What does this law really mean practically for folks in Colorado?
Well, good morning, Leland. You know, I don't know necessarily that it's the wild, wild West. You know, Amendment 64 passed by about a 53% majority of the voters. So while that's certainly a healthy majority, it's absolutely not overwhelming. So state regulators are really going out of their way to make sure that they are complying with the will of the voters, allowing for the retail consumption, sale and consumption of marijuana without ultimately having the mile-high city become anything more than the altitude.
All right, I wanted to go back to what Governor Hickenlooper out there in Colorado said when the law passed. He said it may be a little bit early to bust out the Doritos just now. Have they been able to figure things out in the past couple of months in terms of how this law is going to work, how people are going to be able to smoke pot, where they can smoke it, how to do so safely, whether they can drive smoking pot?
Well, you know, the state really hopes so. There have been an enormous number of regulations that have been put in place, but really this is uncharted territory. So really what we're going to be looking at is ultimately what happens on January the 1st. The state really has gone out of their way to make sure that they are tracking the marijuana from the point of seed to ultimately the point of sale. They're doing so with radio frequency of the actual marijuana plants, making sure that they don't cross over state lines. They've put a great deal of regulation in place regarding even edible marijuana, making sure that it's not being sold in somebody's residential kitchen. But ultimately, what happens going forward is yet to be seen. There's a very small number of shops that are actually opening up starting on January 1st. And really, everybody's going to be watching to make sure not just that the retailer is complying with state law, but ultimately that the consumer is as well. You know, there really have been a great deal of restrictions and regulations put in place on where somebody can ultimately smoke the marijuana. This is not public consumption. You can't walk down the street in Denver or one of the other jurisdictions smoking pot. It can only be done in your home, in your private home. Landlords can even restrict whether or not a resident is able to smoke pot within a rented home. So really how the police and how regulators respond and ultimately how the customer responds is really going to be interesting to watch over the course of the next few weeks and ultimately months and even into years from now.
We'll watch it closely over the next few weeks. Already, I saw there are websites advertising pot tourism, so there may be a lot of convenience stores that need to stock up on Doritos out there in Denver. David Beller there out in Denver for us today. Thanks, David.
Thank you.